Welcome to Newtown Speakers Group. I'm Chase. I'm definitely an alcoholic.
What's up, Chase?
Will everyone please help me open the meeting with the Serenity Prayer? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and the group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anybody new or from out of town?
Alcoholic. My name is Skyler. I'm from Skyler V Maryland.
Skyler, welcome.
I'm Rob. I'm an alcoholic and addict.
Hey, Rob, welcome.
I'm Brandy. I'm an alcoholic from Bel Air.
Brandy, welcome. Anybody else? All right. If you have any questions or would like to make this group your home group, please see any group member after the meeting. Will group members please raise their hands? Newtown Speakers encourages sponsorship. Would anybody with a working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Coffee and snacks are available for free in the back of the room. If you need a big book, please see me after the meeting. We also offer childcare during the meeting in the nursery. Do we have any AA-related announcements?
My name's Ron. I'm an alcoholic.
Ron.
And the Saturday night 1 hour speaker group in Doylestown, not this Saturday, but following Saturday, it's an anniversary meeting. It's always fun. It's just a conscious contact speaker group, 1 hour speaker group. So if you like speaker groups and you like free food and shrimp and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it, the icing on the cake of sobriety. Come up and join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alcoholic. My name is Skyler.
Skyler.
If anybody wants to come down to Bel Air, Maryland, Brandy will be celebrating 2 years this Sunday.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
7 p.m.
Thank you. Sorry. Please turn off all cell phones. Please limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. This is a smoke and vapor-free meeting. Smoking and vaping is allowed outside by the basketball net. Please use the butt cans. We have a 7th tradition. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. And then I asked Mark to read the preamble.
I'm Mark. I'm an alcoholic. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is the desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy. Neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Thank you, Mark.
And then I asked Patrick to read the 12 steps.
The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, I'm Patrick. I'm an addict. The 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Number 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Number 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Number 3, made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Number 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Number 5, admitted to guide ourselves into another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Number 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Number 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Number 8, made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Number 9, made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Number 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Number 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Number 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
And then if everyone would please help me welcome our speaker, Skyler from Primary Purpose in Bel Air, Maryland.
How you doing? I'm Skyler and I'm an alcoholic. just real quick, I have a sobriety date. It's December 22nd, 2012. I have a sponsor who's taken me through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I have the privilege and the honor to take other women or men, whoever asks me, through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous as well. I just want to read this note real quick. It's a pretty cool note. I got it. I'll just say this real quick. Where I'm at today with God and faith is how it says in the big book, find out where religious people are right. For a long time, I had resentments towards religion, mainly the Catholic Church. Anybody that said they were religious, I didn't believe you, and I didn't want to hear it. But I met this woman through this church that I go to sometimes. It's called Mount Zion. It's a non-denominational church, and I had a job opportunity there. It was basically a job for like a glorified babysitter for women who've been involved in human trafficking at a halfway house. And I met some of these women there, and I got to talking with them and shared a little bit of my story. They shared a little bit about themselves. And one of the women that I met came into this restaurant that I work in right down the street from my house. And she left me this note, and it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future." Then that's Jeremiah 29:11. And she goes on to say, "Thank you, Skyler, and I am so glad that our paths crossed once again. Congratulations on your sobriety. Love, Jody." To see God work through someone else's life is the best feeling that I could ever feel today. It's something that I try to give back to God's children every day. And I just thought this was amazing, you know what I mean? Just to see that, just to feel that, to be on the same path with someone. We're not the same, we're different people all around, but here we are. We're just relying upon God and trying to do this thing. So anyway, what it was like. I grew up in a Irish Catholic home. I was raised by my grandmother. She was old school Irish Catholic woman, and from a very early age, she tried to instill morals and principles and values, and we did the whole nine. We went to Mass every Sunday. We gave stuff up for Lent. We did Good Friday, Ash Wednesday, the whole nine. And I remember it was my first day of CCD, and it's like a Bible study school for kids that don't go to private school. And there was a test. And the first question was something about Jesus and the bread and the fish. And I remember looking around and watching all these kids like breeze through their tests, and they're smiling and they're turning their tests over and they're ready for it to be graded. And I am struggling so hard and I am dying. And I just start breaking down in tears. And the teacher, she comes up to me and she's on the outside very consoling, rubs my back, tells me it's okay, you don't have to do it. But in my mind, I heard, if you don't get this right, you're going to go to hell. Don't bring your family back here because they're going to go to hell too, and you're pretty much damned from here on out. And from that moment on, I knew that, God and church and Jesus, whatever, was not for me. I told my mother I never wanted to go back there. I was going to do that. And I carried that attitude with me for a very, very long time. I don't want to call myself an atheist because that was just like too much of a commitment, but basically like I didn't care if there was or if there wasn't. It just didn't bother me. Growing up, it's funny now, like you think, it says in the big book, the alcoholic life seems the only normal one. And even looking back to, even before I took a drink or a drug as a child, I can see the little alcoholic in me. I was very self-seeking. I wanted your attention. I didn't care whether it was good or bad. As long as your focus was on me, you were in the right spot. And I told massive lies. I was just telling Brandy on the way here, self is a pathological liar. I will lie to you about anything. And I would tell my friends that at school, I was a professional choreographer for Missy Elliott and Britney Spears, and I taught them how to dance. And I'm in the 6th grade, and they of course didn't believe me. I believed every word that came out of my mouth, but they did not. And as a result of that, I would constantly have to change friends every 3 to 6 months because they wanted nothing to do with me. And again, that's how I lived for a very long time. In my mind, I'm here to impress you. I'm too full of fear to be my true self. So I will come up with like these stories and these ideas and these plans just to get your approval. But also being terrified that you're not going to like me, that you're going to judge me for who I am, so I can't be myself. I was about 13, I think I was almost turned 13 when I had my first drink, and I started hanging out with these kids a little bit before then, and they were like, I guess, your classic bad apple kids, you know, like kids that had dropped out of school, they had really bad tattoos, they cursed out their moms, they smoked cigarettes, they drank, like, I was very, very attracted to these kids. I wanted everything to do with them, especially one girl in particular, her name's Aubrey, and I was sickly obsessed with her because I hated myself so much. I didn't know that then, but, you know, I talked like her, I acted like her, I dressed like her. I grew up playing, like, soccer and, like, very, like, active in, like, sports, I guess, and I was, like, in shape, and this girl was a little bit overweight, and I even, like, stopped playing sports and started eating to gain weight to look like her. I was very obsessed with this woman, and I met up with these guys. I was with a girlfriend of mine at the time, and they had a bottle of Bacardi 151 and a 2-liter bottle of Coke, and they were like, you want to meet us in the woods and drink? I'm like, yeah, I do. Of course I do. I've never drank before in my life. And we sat down in the woods, and we went bottle chaser, bottle chaser, bottle chaser. And something happened for me that I didn't even know was supposed to happen for me. It was like this immediate, like, I don't give a fuck what you think about me. You know, I don't care. You're like, I am now myself. I could say whatever I wanted to. I could act how I wanted to, and I did. You know, that night, it was totally a blackout. I remember, like, coming to in the back of someone's geo-tracker, throwing up outside the window, you know, trying to make out with this boy I had never met before, and walking home. But I woke up the next day, and I was like, that was so much fun. Like, I had the time of my life, and we talked about how we were going to do it again, and what we were going to drink next, and who we were going to drink with, and it was nonstop from that moment on. I usually tell people it took a little while, but no, that's a lie, you know, like, it was nonstop after. It was like very much the weekend warrior type, and I got into a lot of trouble. I became a completely different person. Probation, drug courts, you know, getting arrested at parties, my mother having to come and pick me up, and the woman who I loved the most, my mother, you know, I put my hands on her when I was sober because she was blocking me from the most important thing in my life at the time, and that was alcohol. You're not going to tell me what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I want when I want it with whomever I want. And that's how I acted. My mother, she's a great enabler, and I took advantage of her terribly, to the point where she lost a lot of jobs because Skyler always had to be somewhere. Skyler had to get picked up. She skipped school. She has to go to this detention center. She's got to go meet her probation officer. She lost a lot of jobs, and she was single. She's my grandmother. She raised me. I call her my mom, but I just didn't care, you know. Selfish and self-centeredness is the root of my problem, and I know that to be very true today, but back then I had no idea what was wrong with me. I didn't even know that there was anything wrong with me. I thought it was like everybody would tell me, like, you're going through a phase, it's all right, you're 14, you're 15, you're 16, and then it got all the way up to 22, and I'm like, there's definitely a problem. But, you know, I stopped hanging out with those kids, and I started to hang out with kids my own age. I had dropped out of school at this point, and we all have this one friend, and it's the friend whose parents are never home, and it's the party house, it's the trap house, and even if their parents are there, they'll probably buy you alcohol and drink with you, and this house was the dirtiest house I've ever seen in my life. We used to put our cigarette butts out on the carpet. The dog had fleas. I remember, like, sleeping over there watching, like, the fleas jump on my skin, people having sex in all the rooms, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, and started hanging out with these kids, and it was like that moment where I had arrived because I could be who I thought I was in that very moment. I didn't have to answer to anyone. And, you know, I don't share this often, but this is the kind of person who I was at the time, you know, just seeking approval. There was this kid who lived down the street from that girl's house, and I think he was, like, schizophrenic or something. Something was off terribly, and he had came over, and we were with, like, I hung out with, like, a bunch of thugs, a lot of drug dealers, a lot of guys who were, like, packing guns and stuff, and, you know, I just thought that was cool. But we had bet this guy that he couldn't drink this half gallon of peach vodka we had, and he did it. He drank the entire half gallon. From then on out, we started like putting chemicals in that bottle and telling him to drink it again. Chemicals like, like dish detergent, bleach, hair products, anything, you name it. We put it in this bottle and we told him to drink it again, that we would give him $100 if he could, and he did. And he walked outside and he started throwing up, and we all went to bed. The next morning when I woke up, he was out there and he was blue. And we brought him back in the house and we threw him in the bathtub. We took off his clothes and we continued to torture this man. He was alive, but he wasn't present. And we started like beating him with 2x4s and shooting him with BB guns and shaving his head. And just, we had a birthday party to go to after that. And that's what we did. We got ready. We left that man in the tub to die. And we just moved on with our lives. I don't know if that man ever died or not, or if he's alive. I have no idea, but, that's the kind of person I was. I was just going along with everybody. This is and I didn't even think this at the time, but, this is what's going to make them like me. I'm going to get approval this way. And, I don't know. It's crazy to think about. I don't think I've ever really shared that story, but anyway, but that's the kind of person I was, just constantly on the run. In this time frame, like I said, I'm getting in a lot of trouble. My mother, she's in the hospital. She just had surgery. I stole her car. We took it to Ocean City. We came back. I totaled it. Just running rampant through her life, especially. You know what I mean? I got to the point where, like I said, she was losing jobs and stuff, and we were couch surfing at families' homes, and they wanted absolutely nothing to do with me either, because I was like bringing people in, leaving when I wanted to, smoking cigarettes in their house, stealing from them, just really not caring. Then, like I said, she's my grandmother. She has a son, my uncle. He lives in Florida. He has a trailer on some property, and basically I exhausted all options for the both of us. She had no job. I didn't have a job. We have nowhere to go. So we packed her car with basically our clothes and our toothbrushes, and we went down to Florida. And for me, Florida was like a blessing and a curse. It was a blessing in the sense where, like, it was either fight or flight, and we had absolutely nowhere to go. So I had to, like, fight to keep us alive. And, her car got repoed. All the stuff that she had left in storage back here in Maryland got auctioned off because we couldn't keep up with the payments. She couldn't find a job. I couldn't find a job. Eventually, my uncle was like, look, I can't help you out anymore. Like, you've got to do something here. And I had not thought about like a drink or a drug, but I was definitely going crazy. You know what I mean? My solution has been removed, and now I'm just sitting in self, and I'm starting all kinds of problems with my mom and my uncle, and I eventually get a job at Hooters down there, and I bought my mom and I a car. I was paying bills. I was buying food. Like, I was taking care of her, and Florida taught me in the very beginning like how to be a responsible adult, on the outside. But it didn't take long for me to find like-minded people, and I got hooked up with a fake ID, freshly just turned 18, a drug dealer. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Florida, but drugs are really, really, really cheap. And, it was like another moment where I had arrived. Like, this was it. It couldn't get any better in Florida. I still think back on it sometimes like, wow, that was a lot of fun, but how much fun was it really? You know what I mean? It didn't take long to where I was physically dependent on, Xanax and Percocets and just alcohol, and I remember one night, it was a morning shift at Hooters, and I had taken about like 9 Xanax bars, and we went to a party afterwards with a girlfriend of mine at the time, and we're drinking, we're snorting a couple things, we're passing around some weed, and I remember sitting down on this couch and this feeling coming over me that I had never felt before, and I knew something was wrong. It was like I lost all function in my body, and I remember I threw up, and I like quickly swallowed it, and I looked over, I was like, we have got to go, like something is wrong. And she picks me up, and I remember walking, it was like a deer on ice, like I couldn't even make it to the door. She throws me in her car, and I'm sitting in her car, and we're driving, and I can't look up, and I can't talk, and all I can do is like sit like this because I'm getting nauseous and I'm getting the spins. And she drops me off at home, and I said I lived on a little bit of property There was like a 25-foot walk to get to the door, and I remember walking and throwing up at the same time, and I reached for the door, and I just like immediately like ate it. And I come to a few days later in a hospital with IVs, and there's like little sticky things and machines, and I look over to the right, and my mom is hysterically crying. And I'm like, what is going on? And she said, you just died. They had to put a shot of adrenaline into your heart to revive you. And my exact response was this, well, can we go home because I'm hungry? Only out for myself. I had no idea I was harming anyone, but I didn't even know I was harming myself. It's like throwing a pebble into a pond, it ripples. Like, that's how we affect people. We would like to think we were only hurting ourselves. But I'm not. I'm hurting my mother. I'm hurting my uncle. I'm hurting all these other people who actually love and care about me. But if I'm being honest with you, I couldn't care less. And I went home. I brushed my teeth. I ate, and I went right back out. 2 months later, same thing happened. Overdose. And all the shiny shit, all the things that were magical and so much fun, quickly became maintenance. It was like a daily grind just to stay well. And I was like, well, I definitely have a problem with pills, so I'm going to move back to Maryland because that's going to fix me. And I'm probably just going to drink and maybe smoke a little bit of weed and everything's going to be cool. And that's what I did. I moved out when I was about 19, 20 years old. I moved back to Maryland with a friend in her house, and I ruined that family's life too. I stayed with them. I didn't pay them a dime. I slept with their son in their family's room, the family living room that you're not supposed to go in because it's a lot of nice stuff, and it's the don't walk in their room, don't touch room. And I ruined that relationship with a friend. She wanted absolutely nothing to do with me, and she kicked me out. And at this time, I had gotten into a relationship with a drug dealer, and I moved into his house, which was his parents' house, in the basement. And I'm not shitting you. It was another moment where I had arrived because not only were the drugs around all the time, but they were free. So what I had just said to myself in Florida, I have a problem with pills, I'm probably not going to do that, completely went out the window. Absolutely 100% like that. And here I am again. That relationship I had with that man was very sick, very unhealthy. This is like a little glimpse into our relationship. I remember one night, at this time I'm working at Buffalo Wild Wings as a bartender, and we have this company work party every Christmas. It's like a Secret Santa, and we met up at Fridays, and I'm all dressed up. I'm wearing heels and little jeans and the shirt, and we're exchanging gifts and eating dinner, and it's very it looks very good on the outside, but I can't control my drink and enjoy it at the same time. It's just not in the cards for me. To control it means I'm just this wanting to get out of my skin. You know what I mean? And I started taking shots. We started drinking more. A couple people started to leave. And me and Charlie, this boyfriend I had, started scheming. This girl had a brand new iPhone. And our plan was to steal this iPhone. We did. We stole the iPhone. She immediately knew someone stole the iPhone. She started looking around for it. And I'm like, let me help you look for it. And it's in my pants, down my pants. I'm like, let me help you look for it. And we're looking all over the place. And these tilted kilt girls walk in to Fridays, and I see my boyfriend over there talking to him, and I run up in my little heels, and I drag him down by the hood. I pull him down. I drag him outside. I'm going off. I'm like, you don't think you're talking to any girls? I'm getting all ghetto, Boricua, you're not gonna talk to any girls. And I'm starting to get into a physical fight with him, and a coworker pulls me off. I punch him in the face. We're kicking and screaming. Everybody leaves. He throws me in the car. We're down 95, and I'm kicking him in the face with my heels as we're driving down 95. He pulls off to the side. He rips me out by my hair. He puts a knife to my neck, and I'm so crazy. I'm pushing it to my neck. I'm like, do it. You won't do it. Do it. Do it. You won't do it. And he didn't. But we got back into the car, and we got back to the house, and I'm packing all my stuff, and I throw my shoe at him, and immediately his eyes started swelling up. It was black and blue and purple, and he goes upstairs and he brings a gun down, and his parents follow him, and they were like, you need to get out. You need to call somebody. And my mom's still in Florida. I have no friends. I don't know who to call. So I called my father, and the funny thing about my father is, like, we have this very, this is the thing about my father. Like, my ego tells me what a good father is supposed to look like. You know, we're supposed to have daddy-daughter dates. You're supposed to pay for school. You're supposed to pay for a car. We're supposed to, talk honestly and openly about everything. We're just supposed to get along all of the time. You're always supposed to be here. And that's just not my dad. That's not the kind of person, that's not the kind of father he is. He's there for me in ways that are completely different. You know, he's always been in and out of my life, and he's always been in and out of my life, and a lot of horrible things have happened to me while I was with my father. He was remarried to a woman who did a lot of horrible things to me, and I never told him, and I immediately resented him for everything. It's easier to put the blame on someone else, and it's easier for me to be the victim. I know now that a father isn't supposed to look a certain type of way. I know my dad loves me to the best of his ability, to what he's capable of. And I need to accept and be content with that, because that's all he's capable of. Just like all I'm capable of being. My dad, I don't know if we suffer from the same thing. He's definitely the type where he can party really hard on the weekends and be normal and just go through life like that. But, I can say I can walk shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye with my father today. It wasn't like that for a really long time. Actually, 5 months ago, I told him to get the hell out of my life and never talk to me again. And now I'm mad because he listened. But anyway. So he picked me up, and he took me to his house, and I stayed there for 5 days. And it's uncomfortable. You know what I mean? What's comfortable for me is in that basement with that abusive boyfriend, in the midst of, like, drugs and alcohol. That's comfortable for me. What's not comfortable is, like, I don't know, maybe starting a new life. Like, you get here in Alcoholics Anonymous. Like, that's uncomfortable for me. I don't want to do that, I want to do what I know is comfortable. Stay in my comfort zone. So I went back, and we continued to have a really abusive relationship, and it got to the point where I'm a barroom drunk at this point, and I met this man, and I firmly believe God uses us as vessels, and we definitely serve purpose in each and everybody's life that we cross paths with. And this man took interest in me, I took interest in him. We started going out on a couple dates here and there, and I'm totally, like, sneaking around this guy's back. For whatever reason, I don't know why, I was honest with him. I told him, look, I'm in a relationship. I don't want to be with him. We haven't had sex in over a year. If you're patient with me, like, I'll leave him and I'll be with you. And for whatever reason, he agreed. I don't know why. That's something I definitely, well, maybe I would have. Who knows? He agreed. So I packed my stuff. A few weeks later, I move into a coworker's house. 5 days later, I find an apartment with a roommate. And 2 months later, that man disappeared from my life. You know what I mean? Like, I would have never left Charlie on my own. That is not in me to do that. I'm comfortable there. But because this man told me he was going to spend the rest of his life with me, and we were going to marry, and we were going to have kids, and we were going to move to Florida and everything. Like, he didn't say all that, but that's what I thought was going to happen. He served a purpose in my life. And I remember a few months ago, I'm, like, scrolling through Facebook, and I see he's gotten married. I'm like, what the hell? Like, that could have been me. Like, you just disappear from my life. And, like, no, he served a purpose in your life. I read something yesterday talking about relationships, and Steve Farnsworth wrote it. And he was basically saying, like, all relationships come to an end sooner or later, except for the one with God. And I know that to be very true today. And that relationship ended. But it's okay. There's wonderful memories there because he helped me move out. I would have never done that on my own. So I'm living in this apartment with this girl, and it was another moment where I had arrived. I got my own place. I'm a bartender. I'm bringing people back and forth from my house. I'm having all kinds of parties. I get a DUI in the midst of things with no license. I didn't have a license at this point. I never drove, but all of a sudden, like, I'm driving with a friend. We had been day drinking all day long, and her friend hands me her keys at like 12 o'clock at night and was like, take her home. I'm like, sure, okay, why not? Like, I've never driven a car a day in my life, except for the one I stole from my mom, and I let other people drive that most of the time. But I get a DUI. I get on probation. They told me it was 2 years complete abstinence. Like, that didn't mean anything to me. I don't care about complete abstinence. I don't want complete abstinence. I didn't even know what that meant, to be honest with you. Like, how am I not supposed to drink and use drugs? Like, that was just baffled me. And I definitely didn't listen, but I made it through probation, and it got really hard towards the end of things, of this thing. I remember waking up from like a normal night of drinking, and towards the end I couldn't even get drunk anymore. It was like a forever hangover. You know what I mean? It was always sick, always bloated, always throwing up. I ruined a lot of relationships in my life. I literally had no one. Like I said, I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings. I started to get into a relationship with my boss, and a lot of people found out about it. And I ruined his job. I ruined mine. Not only did I ruin his job, but at the same time I had 2 affairs going on with a coworker and a regular from that bar. And it's like, whenever I didn't want him, I would push him away. You know, I told him that I was pregnant and I was going to have an abortion. I was never pregnant, never had an abortion. I told him that because I wanted him to leave my life because I found somebody new. And I found this person. I started to push that person away because I found this person. I can't be alone. I am so full of fear of spending the rest of my life alone. And I still can be full of fear about that. You know what I mean? It's something where, you know, I have to ask God to, like, just help me keep me content. Like, if this is what's supposed to happen, then this is what's supposed to happen. I trust you. But not back then. You know, I didn't even want to sleep by myself. I constantly had people coming over my house. If it was, like, not even to have, like, sex, just to, like, lay with me, just to drink with me, just to take me out. Like, I couldn't be alone in here. You know what I mean? Like, this just ate at me every day. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. I had been in and out of counseling my whole life, therapy, psychiatrist. I was prescribed everything from Adderall to Prozac to Abilify to Zoloft, like everything. I've been diagnosed with ADD, bipolar disorder, manic depressive. I'm not a clinically depressed person. I'm a spiritually depressed person. I love, in the doctor's opinion, how Dr. Silkworth tells us, is so honest with us. As a medical director, I do not have the resources to help you. That sometimes, if the doctor is honest with himself, he must feel his own inadequacy. And no doctor was ever honest with me. They just script me, bill me, script me. And that's okay, because you don't know what you don't know. But an alcoholic armed with the facts knows. That's later on down, though. So I had no idea what was wrong with me. And I was ruining people's lives. And I hated myself. I remember looking at myself in the mirror a bunch of times, just thinking, like, you know, just praying for death. Like, absolutely no belief or faith in God, a higher power, anything like that. But I sure shit prayed for death. I would, like, try to overdose and wake up and be so angry. Like, why? Why am I still alive? Like, things would be so much easier if I had just died. You know, things would be a lot easier if it just went my way. You know, it says in the big book, like, we're the actor and we rearrange, like, the ballet and the lights and people, and if all went well, then I would be well. But that's not true, you know. Because I have, like, rearranged and manipulated and controlled things to go my way, and I still was not happy, you know. I was always chasing happiness. What society told me happiness was: power, prestige, money, cars, boyfriends, houses. If I just had X, Y, and Z, then I could be happy. And I was never happy because I had some of those things, and I still wanted more. I woke up from a normal night of drinking, like I said, just hungover and depressed and sad and angry and all, like, the full gamut of emotions. And I go to call my mom because that's what's comfortable. I like to be comfortable. She's going to give me what I want. She's going to say, I'm sorry, I love you, everything's going to be okay, we'll get through this. But I didn't. Again, God using people as vessels dropped this girl into Buffalo Wild Wings out of nowhere. And I took interest in her. Come find out, she's sober, but, you know, like, before I knew that, like, I liked her. She was cool. We had a lot of fun. She asked me to go out to dinner with her one night, and we went to Texas Roadhouse. And I didn't know she didn't drink, and I'm ordering I think I ordered like a margarita, and then there was this guy down at the end of the bar who was buying me shots of Crown Royal, and so I'm drinking that. I'm like, you're not going to drink, dude? Like, what's up? Let's party. And she's like, I don't drink. I was like, you don't drink? Like, you work in a restaurant, you don't drink? And she was like, no. I'm like, well, what do you do? And she's like, well, I'm sober. I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I had no idea what sober, recovery, AA, anything like that meant. Like, she basically started telling me these things, and I'm like, well, I want to go to a meeting with you. I had no idea what a meeting was. She was like, maybe when you're sober, maybe tomorrow. Why don't you call me tomorrow and see if you want to go? I was like, no, I want to go now. I want to see what all this is about. Like, I just wanted to go in there and, like, show off and, like, you know, look at me, because I love attention so much. But, I called her, and, I knew she was sober, I knew she was happy, and I wanted her help. And I basically called her and I like unloaded everything on her. I told her my whole life story. And I'm like, this is how I feel, I'm crying, I'm screaming, and she was like, calm down. She was like, what are you doing the next few days? I'm like, next few days? Like, I need to get sober now, I need to have what you have now. And she was like, you're probably going to want to, like, check yourself into detox and, like, maybe, like, go through some withdrawal. Like, that's probably going to happen. I'm like, nah. And, like, I withdrawed at home. I didn't check myself into a detox or anything like that. And I met up with her a few days later, and we went to my first meeting. It was a nooner at the Man House in Bel Air. And this Man House, it's called the Man House. It's, like, a halfway house, and there's, like, a garage across from it that they have meetings at every day. And this driveway to get up there is like 10,000 feet long. It is so long, I'm telling you. And I'm walking up this driveway, and I see like a group of people with like a cloud of smoke over them. And I'm like, God, I hope there's some really cute boys here. And like, I look like absolute hell. Like, I got like bags, and I'm bloated, and I'm like gray, green color. But you know, we all still think we like look really good when we look like shit. And that ego, man, that ego and pride. They say resentment is the number one offender. Like, I beg to differ. I think my ego is the number one offender, because the ego is what gains the resentments. You know what I mean? What I think I know, my opinions and my judgments. But we get to the nooner and we walk in. And people start talking, and there's this old timer. His name's Joe P. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. Now he is. Then not so much. He started talking about powerlessness and plugging into a power source, and I have no idea what you're talking about. This woman over here is talking about how she just drank 4 Bellinis and a Cosmo. I'm like, well, you're not an alcoholic, so I don't know why you're here. And all I can hear the entire time is this guy cracking his knuckles behind me, and I'm like, I have got to get out of here. Like, this is not for me. And we get out of the meeting, she goes, well, so what did you think? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm just full of fear, you know, absolutely full of fear. I'm scared of change. I didn't even know that if there was any change to be made or that was going to happen. I just know, like, I don't like to be uncomfortable. And she was like, well, look, come to my home group. It's a young people's meeting. You might relate to more people in there. I'm like, whatever. Like, when I got sober, it was like I said, I came in with no faith, no belief in God, but it's like God took over my body and just took me to these places. Like, I kept saying yes, and I don't know why, because I didn't like it for a very, very long time. And it was like the craziest thing. It's like a moment of clarity every day, like, you should probably do this. You should probably say yes. You should probably give this girl your phone number. And it wasn't me, and I can't describe it. So I kept coming back with her, and I asked her to be my sponsor, and she took me through some of the steps. And I didn't know that you had to be honest here. I didn't hear a lot of things. I didn't hear vigorous honesty. I didn't hear thoroughness. I didn't hear willingness. I didn't hear desire. I didn't hear any of those words. I didn't hear nothing. I came in here knowing that I didn't think I had a problem, but I knew I had problems as the result of drinking, and I wanted those problems to go away. And for a long time, I thought if I stopped drinking, that those problems would go away. And that's not what happened. I was crazier in sobriety than I ever was when I was drinking. You removed my solution, and I am left with self. Self makes a lot of decisions based on fear. And I ruined a lot of people's lives in sobriety. I did a lot of crazy things. I told people that my mother had died, to people who like cared about me. To get out of trouble, I threw like an orange. I'm a bartender. I picked up this orange, I threw it at this coworker because he got an attitude or something, and I was going to get fired. And I was like, wait, my mom died, and that's why I'm acting crazy. You know, anything to just get out of it. And I spent a really long time miserable, not knowing what I was suffering from. Just chasing happiness again, like I have to get this, then I can be sober. So I'm going through these steps, and it's not working. I don't understand it, so therefore it's stupid, and I don't want to do it. And I need to find a new sponsor. You don't have enough time. You don't know enough about the big book. I need to move on and find somebody who's going to keep me sober. I found another sponsor, and his name was Brendan. He took me through these paperwork steps. And this is my experience. The paperwork steps drove me crazy. I felt like it was a lot of self. You know what I mean? I'm looking to self to fix problems. I can't work on my life. I don't know what problems to fix. I didn't know that then. And at the time, I'm like, all right, write 20,000 times a day why you're powerless. I have no idea what powerless means. You know what I mean? I had no idea what it meant. So again, it was his fault. He's not making me happy. So in the middle of this thing, I find a boyfriend. He's keeping me happy. I find another sponsor, a woman with 13 or 14 years, this undeniable faith. I had been around, this was like a little over a year, I had been around long enough to see that, to actually finally hear you that I needed God to get sober. And I made a lot of countless vain attempts to try to do that. I got the opportunity to go to Florida at 7 months sober just to hang out with some friends, and my grandfather lives down there, and I had not talked to him in probably like 4 or 5 years over this resentment. And he called me and was like, I hear you're coming down to Florida. I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I figured you could stay with me for free, so you don't have to get a hotel or stay with anyone. I'll feed you, whatever. And I'm like, perfect. Awesome. I'm going to go to Florida. I'm not going to see you. I'm going to spend more time with my friends. I'll just tiptoe around you, whatever. And that's not what happened. I spent more time with that man than I did with any friend I had in Florida. We spent a beautiful 10 days together. We shared things. We talked about things. We'd stay up till like 3 o'clock in the morning, going to get Dunkin' Donuts, coming back to watch a movie. Like, it was amazing. And neither one of us said sorry for anything. It was like kind of like an unspoken agreement, like everything is cool. 5 months later, that man died. God brought me to Florida to make an amends, something I had no idea what I was doing, because he knew my grandfather was going to pass away, and I needed to make that right, and I did. And those 10 days are the best memories of him that I have. And I constantly pray to him, like, I love you, Granddad, stuff like that. And I wrote him a letter, which was pretty cool, and, read it to him. And it was just an awesome experience. But meanwhile, I'm still miserable and everything. I had no idea at the time that's what was going on. But I found out that I wanted to find God. I needed to find God to stay sober. And I found this woman. She had an undeniable faith. She was going to save me. That was the thing about Kathy. I put her up on this pedestal with expectations far too great. She was fucked from the minute I asked her for help. You know what I mean? There was no way this woman was going to help me, because I wanted her to save me. We were going to walk hand in hand with God on this journey, and I was going to be a born-again Christian. I don't know what was going to happen, but I was going to find God, and I was going to be happy. And that's not what happened. I caught a resentment towards her. Of course I did. Absolutely I did. I put expectations on her. She will fail me. Any human or material thing that I like to place power in will always, always fail me. And I'm just filling this void. Just filling this void with everything that's temporary. I love what Chuck Chamberlain says. He says there's going to come a point in time where you can no longer put something in between you and you. And what that means is like all that shiny shit that I place power in. All that stuff that's very much temporary, that fails me, and then I'm just left with self. And what does self do? Run, drink, drug, kill myself, you know what I mean? I was so beaten and broken down in sobriety that I reached out to this man who had a similar resentment towards my sponsor, and I wanted him to justify me. He was going to tell me I was so right and she was so wrong, and we were going to laugh about it, and he didn't give me that. He straight up told me, he was like, if I were to do that for you, there would be no lick of God in this conversation. I'm like, what does God have to do with anything? Nothing. And I called his best friend because I was looking for the same thing, and I didn't get that either. He came over, and we had a 3-hour conversation, and that man took me through the first 3 steps without me even knowing it. And he told me, lack of power is your dilemma. I'm like, what does that mean? I'm powerless over alcohol. I get it. I can't drink. I got that. He's like, no. You are powerless. You do not have the power to keep yourself sober. And your life is unmanageable because you try to manage it. If I could just wrest satisfaction and happiness out of this world by managing well. But I don't know how to manage well. I can't manage my life, and I sure shit can't manage your life. So he was like, if we come to believe in a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity, would you? I'm like, yeah, why not? He was like, so why don't you turn your will and your life over to the care of that God as you understand him? I was like, okay. Like I said, I had no other options. That was it. That was it for me. I was always looking for the easier, softer way. This is the easier, softer way. Everything else that I was doing, managing my life to try to make it work for me, was so hard and exhausting. It was killing me. I don't know how much more time I could have went on like that. It's by the grace of God that I was too scared to believe in that brought me to not only understand but to feel in my heart that I don't have power. And I totally got that. And we said the third step prayer that night, and I surrendered everything. Not just outside things, the inside shit, judgments and opinions, what I think I know, my ego and my pride. He put a mental picture in my head about surrender, because I'm really dense sometimes. He was like, picture this guy, he fought this battle, and the battle is lost, but he still got his boots on, he still has the AKs, he still has his backpack, he still has his helmet on. And then he surrenders. He takes off the backpack, he takes off the helmet, he takes off the AKs, he hits his knees, and he throws his hands up. It's like, that's what we have to do every day. Surrender to the God of your understanding every day. And I was like totally hyped up about that. And I did my first honest 4-step. I had done like 3-4 steps before then. I would like put stuff on there that didn't happen, and I would take stuff off that did happen. I wouldn't tell the full truth. And I did my first honest one with him. We would do 5 together. It was like God had brought me down to this even playing ground with the rest of his kids, knowing that I can walk shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye with them, knowing I'm no better or less than, knowing that they are no better or less than. And I was like, it was a totally like humbling experience. Like, you suffer from the same thing I do. So why am I always up in arms about what you're doing to me? Is because self is affected. When self is affected, I will step on the toes of my fellows and they will retaliate. Oh, no shit. And we moved on. We did 6 and 7. I asked God to remove my character as a defect, and I spent an hour with God. And we got together and we did 8 and 9. I started making some amends, and this is what I missed every single time, 10, 11, and 12. We have a daily reprieve contingent upon our spiritual maintenance. I didn't buy the whole package. I always said AA didn't work for me. AA failed me. AA never fails us. We fail AA. We don't buy the whole package. 10, 11, and 12 is like the maintenance steps. We're disciplining ourselves for God. Taking that daily inventory. Listening to God is just as important as talking to God. And the kindly act once in a while is not good enough. I need to act the Good Samaritan every day. And I try to. Some days it don't pan out like that. I have this thing about me where I'm like either entitled or worthless with no middle ground. But it's by being in these steps, living by principles, that I'm pulled out of my reality, which is delusional and full of fear and full of self and full of anger and any terrible human emotion. And I'm pulled into the great reality where God lives, where love, compassion, patience, and tolerance lives, where you live, where I'm able to be of service to you, to take you off the hook, and then I come off the hook. You know what I mean? I'm grateful for alcohol. Alcohol, I love alcohol. It kept me alive for a very long time. If it wasn't for alcohol, I probably would have been a suicide kid. And I saw that in the 20 months of restless, irritable, discontent sobriety, that white knuckling, like, is this it? Like, this is what sobriety is? Like, I just gotta hold on for dear life for the rest of my life? Like, I saw that, you know what I mean? I'm grateful for alcohol. It got me here. I'm grateful for AA because it brought me to this relationship with God that I have. I came in here with nothing. I didn't want to believe in God. You know, I tried so hard not to for a very long time. Like, even though, like, I was like, maybe I should. And I was actually running around here calling myself a woman of faith and knowing that I'm full of shit inside because I'm dying. I have a relationship with God today. It's the craziest thing to say. You know what I mean? And that relationship is forever changing, forever growing, and forever, like, progressing. You know, so as long as I can keep going back to that power. Fundamentally, they say, like in the book, fundamentally there's the idea of God in every man, woman, and child. We're born with the idea of God, that piece of God in us. And along the way, we get blocked, and we get blocked, and we get blocked with resentments and fear and anger and jealousy and bitterness and suspicion and all that. The 12 steps is what unblocks us. It just removes all that. Not forever, you know. I'm not cured, but I absolutely do recover here. And it's because of the 12 steps. It's not just because of 1, 2, and 3, or 10, 11, and 12, and maybe sometimes 7. I had to go back and do 7 again the other day, you know what I mean? Because I constantly get in the way of me and you. I always want to manage this. I don't know what I'm always trying to manage, you know. I'm in this off-again, on-again relationship with this man I've been with 2 years, and it's like, my hands are all over this. All over it, and it's not working because it's going against nature. It's not happening naturally. And I'm trying to control it. And I'm getting angry from it. I'm taking it out on you and my coworkers, and I'm being short with sponsees. I went to Bob Darrell's thing at Stepping Stones, I think it was like 2 weekends ago, and I was so pumped up for this. I'm taking all my sponsees with me, and we're so excited and we're ready to go. The night before that, my boyfriend and I had broke up, and I'm just miserable here. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. And I'm giving my sponsees attitude, and she's getting upset. And she's like, are you mad at me? I'm like, not mad at you. Like, listen, you know what I mean? Just listen. Don't pay attention to me right now. Like, I want to fight loneliness with isolation, so just go. And, you know, I hurt her feelings, and she got resentful towards me, and I had to make that right. But it's because of the 12 steps that I know how to do that. If that happened, like, even 10 months ago, I would have just, like, kept it moving. I wouldn't have had a sponsee 10 months ago, trust me. You wouldn't, nothing that I had. You might not today, I don't care. Either way, you know, the 12 steps shows me how to make that right. It's like these tools that just, like, propel us faster into this spirituality that keeps me in the middle of this thing. I constantly have to reach out, give my phone number out, pick girls up, take them back to my house. We just, like, I brought a couple girls back to my house the other day, and we sat down and we did this song of meditation. We lit some incense, and we did some chants, and then, like, we talked to God afterwards. Like, I live for that stuff today. You know what I mean? That's stuff that I never thought I would ever do in my life, nor did I ever want to. And I want to share that with you. I have been spiritually awoken as the result of the 12 steps. And I need to give that back. And I always used to say, hey, you need to give it to keep it. And I was like, this shit's mine. Nobody getting this. But I was dying. I need to give that back. Not only do I need to, but I want to. You know what I mean? It's the craziest thing. It's like God has, like, that power that's in us that got blocked, you know, is like resurfacing and resurfacing and resurfacing and resurfacing. And I'm in the great reality of this thing. And it's beautiful. And I want you to feel it. Everybody deserves to feel the way I feel. You know what I mean? It's for you. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. I'm not advertising it. It says in How It Works, we beg of you. Yes, I beg of you. Please. Check this out. Hear this. Listen to this. Talk to God. Listen to God. Please. Because it saved me. God and Alcoholics Anonymous and you people, everyone that I come in contact with has saved me. And you continue to save me on a daily basis from me, myself. who likes to come out every once in a while, most of the time. You know what I mean? If we're being honest with each other. I love Alcoholics Anonymous, and I love God, and I love you guys. Thank you so very, very much for having me up here. Thank you to Anthony for having me to speak, and thank you. I can't remember your name. It's okay. Thank you for Doyle's down. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.
And we'll close with the Lord's Prayer.